shit since IG, boy. Back in the day. Just woke up, bro. Shit, I ain't going. Come on now, ain't nobody really probably gonna be. Even if they do be in here, it's gonna be like, I don't know. I could wait and see though. I had it scheduled, but I don't know. I didn't really know how to do it, bro. I'm gonna be honest with you, so I'll see what's going on. I get this shit like a minute, but if not, I'm just gonna say what I gotta say. Ooh man, already nigga, that man. Thumbing through the chat like I'm on PlayStation. Remember what? Think about the nights when I thought I wouldn't make it. Sacrifice my life for the shit, not playing. Yeah, bro, I don't think. All right, bro. I'm just gonna pretty much hop in and start talking what I want to talk about. Hey y'all, what's up, man? It's been a long time coming. It took me like 8 years. Nah, I ain't even been on this. I think I've had this channel for probably about 2 years, maybe three at the most. My other one, as you know, I had a lot of traveling stuff on my other one. I was traveling. I was still doing these type of videos. I wasn't really posting too much music like that because I had my other music. My music was like kind of doing its own thing, but I digress. Um, Let me kind of sit back a little bit. Uh, Get comfortable. I don't want the phone to be in my face. All right, y'all. So I kind of want to give a little rundown or a little, I guess, from my opinion, my perspective, especially when I was out in the streets, those few times, I could kind of see the narrative, or I could just see the plan itself. Um, I did plenty of videos about the school system, and I probably even talked about how they do each generation, like how it's kind of strategically set up, that type of thing. Nothing crazy. But I want y'all to think about how, because somebody came up to me. I remember I was working at the airport, and there was this white lady. She was from Lexington, Kentucky, I believe. That's in Kentucky, if I'm not mistaken. She was from Lexington, Kentucky. She came up to me. She was an Eastern Star, a white lady. She's kind of big, kind of heavy set, but she had money. Like, the stuff she was talking about, I could understand. You get what I'm saying? So basically, uh, she was asking me about end times prophecies and that type of stuff. So when I was talking to her, some came up to where we talked about the psychedelics, and I told her, like, once the government and once these upper echelon figureheads got into the psychedelics, got into experimenting with the spiritual realms, and because if you talk to anybody, especially that's of another race, um, or you talk to a black person that you could kind of say that has friends with other races of people, they'll always talk about shrooms, bro. If you start to conversate with them on a level that's intellectual, they're always going to have you ever took shrooms. I can guarantee you every single time they'll say that. What's up, my boy? What's up, man? If y'all got any questions, y'all can ask me. But I'm just going into the end times and when I believe it started. Okay, so I'm talking to this white lady, this Eastern Star from Lexington, Kentucky. And we talking about end times, like I said, and we getting into the subject of psychedelics. So I let her know that that was really the point where God started to step in, because you had the whole civil rights movement in the 60s, and then even in the 50s, or you can even go to the turn of the century. If you go to the 19th century, yeah, what's up, bro? If you go to the 19th century, when it was pretty much genocide when it came to certain people. They was pretty much wiping out people all over the world. This is when uh who was in power right now started to come into power. And the turn of the 19th century, this is when the power was pretty much handed over. It took probably the 1700s. Well, I ain't gonna get into all that. I ain't gonna get into all that shit. But for the most part, um, around I'll just go back to the 70s. Around 1960, we had the civil rights movement, and we all know how that was. That was almost like it was like an introduction into where we are now, as far as so many different experiments that was put into place. I mean, to get into the subject I want to get into, I gotta kind of refer. Let's just say when the civil rights movement was happening, how they had it infiltrated. These were actually real people at the time that was doing the infiltration. And even if you think about like Las Vegas, you think about or think about the Irish, you think about people that actually had power. Um, I don't want. I'm gonna go back to what I was talking about with the psychedelics, but I just want to kind of give a little context. If you think about the people that had power, in the turn of the century, how they were always infiltrated, and even the Rico case itself, how it was transpired, was through the mafia, and they made Las Vegas. They the ones who had all these contracts with the industrial, complex and everything. Then you go with the Irish, they had power and that type of thing. So I'll take that back to the civil rights movement and how it was a point in time, because you gotta think it was a point in time where they was going up in, I already talked about this, they was going in people's houses, taking certain people that probably didn't even do nothing. They'll kill the dad, the son, you know what I mean? The foster's home imaginary friend emoji. But yeah, they'll come in the house, they'll take the dad, take him to the railroad, tie him to the railroad, tar and feather. Especially in the South, it was a point in time where like people could really do what they wanted to do to a certain type of people. I don't really got to say who it was. I mean, in school, I know you read that book, Roll the Thunder, Hear My Cry, or Bud Not Buddy. OGs remember that. You know what I'm saying. So anyway, uh, the infiltration, if you think about it in these days, it's RICO cases and the police system has pretty much become a powerhouse. As far as the police is pretty much a military now. It's like at one point in time it was to protect and serve, and it was somebody you could call on to it was somebody to call on to where if you was in trouble or if it was an emergency, blah 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 blah. But nowadays, it's really set up against the people, and even all these futuristic utopia movies are kind of a colloquialism. If you want to think about it, it's like RoboCop and all these type of movies. It's like we already are living in those times. Like even with Invasion Day and all that type of shit. If you really want to think about it, and I'm gonna explain that. So I'm gonna go back. I'm gonna bring it all the way back to when I talked about in the 1970s, how that's when God kind of started to step in. Because in the 70s, you had these a matter of fact, I could just integrate in it. Nah, I'm gonna come back to that. So in the 70s, you had these people doing experiments on the people with these psychedelics. And we all know about the DMT, and we know about the I don't know what you're talking about, big boy. You're talking about Woody, Buzz, Andy, with the on the bottom of the shoe. Shout out to you though, bro. But anyway, it was a point in time to where they were doing experiments. You had the Jimi Hendrix, you had the the Beatles, that time period. You know what I'm saying? It was a point in time to where you had Coachella. Um, Shit, even if you think about it, was that during like Vietnam? if if I'm not mistaken, I mean that's a whole another thing, because you had the soldiers, coming back fucked up on heroin, psyched out. Even the people, because when I was, how can I put it? Sometimes when I'm out, I meet certain people that's older, and they either white or it don't matter. A lot of them are artists, older artists, and a lot of them always talk about, they was around doing Coachella. They used to do this. They used to do this. They used to take drugs and, blackout. That type of thing. They used to come to me all the time and tell me stories. And I want y'all to think about it like this. Uh, this is what I told the lady. It's like the Most High declared judgment because everybody know when you take psychedelics, it's like you breaking spiritual law. Even though there are plants and it's things the Most High created for the earth for certain purposes. But of course, humanity, we always take things and overexert it and uh pervert it or just make it what it's not supposed to be for the most part. And I refer that to the 80s. So they pretty much mastered this mind manipulation stuff. I'm pretty sure they was doing it way before the 70s. But I'm saying that as far as the psychedelics was a form of, penetrating the mind, the consciousness. It was like a form of mind control. I mean, the all that. You know how the psychedelics and MK Ultra kind of line up together. So think about like you got the 80s. This is when the television started coming out. Well, this is when this became heavy. They started doing sitcoms. They started MTV. This is when they started the rock and roll thing, Michael Jackson, Eddie Murphy, Hollywood. It was really already going, but the 80s was really prime. It was like the peak, the pinnacle of like this society, if you want to be honest, as far as creativity, as far as you get what I'm saying. You understand, Richard Pryor. I mean, come on now. Everybody, all the rock bands, like I said, but then you had rap starting to come into play. Then not only that, you start having all these spiritual leaders, like in the late 80s. But what make it worse when I'm gonna tie the psychedelics into the mind control with everything, cause you, like I said, it's a form of mind control, bro. When they started, anyway. Basically, in the late 80s, the crack epidemic hit. I mean, okay, I'm pretty sure you could follow where I'm going now. Okay, so once crack hit, of course we know there was a government uh I guess you could say project or whatever. We all know what crack was. It was really and who they really was targeting. They weren't targeted anybody else except one particular culture. And when it hit, it was like pivotal because we was already coming out of the Planned Parenthood. It was like perfect timing because you got to think in the 70s, that's when the feminism thing started hitting, because the 60s, that's when we desegregated. Then you got a lot of black women, they got to kind of be under control to a certain extent, and then the white woman got them. It was GG's. It was GG's, but you could kind of see the effect today. And I'm not gonna get into that. I just want to kind of talk about what I want to talk about. But you had the crack epidemic, and a lot of I'm starting to kind of tie in the psychedelics and the MK thing with the music on top of this cloning stuff. Because when I was out in the streets, I met a lot of them. And even when I worked at Delta Sky Club, I met some clones because I had close contact with somebody that was Mark Zuckerberg friend, if I'm not mistaken. It was weird. It was the whole story how he found me. I could fucking write a little book on just that. alone, like that series of. But anyway, so I'm gonna go into the 80s to the 90s. Um, and then somebody even talked about how, I mean, they made a movie called They Clone Tyrone when they had the drug dealers, the people, because you gotta think they made gangster rap in the 80s, crack cocaine on top of already pretty much perfecting mind control through television and other things. So you got to think about all those things because a lot of these um brands and advertisements target a certain group of people, bro. We just got to call it what it is. But in the 90s, that's when gangster rap was really like kind of going crazy. You had the East Coast West Coast thing. Uh Shit, even if you look at Chicago, bro, I seen a lot of shit when I was in the streets when it come to these synthetic people. Even these days, uh, I done met some people. Man, that's a whole, bro. I could do video on video on video on video on just certain shit. Um, but you could kind of follow what I'm saying as far as they targeted a certain people and they did it so slick. It was all because you got to think, just even it was a point in time where even if you talk like this or a certain way, you'd be deemed crazy. I already talked about how they had the mental institutions, who they was targeted for, and who they was what they was really doing in there. And I think the mental institutions is where they kind of do the do a lot of that duplication. Um, Bro, I could get kind of deep into it, but I think you could understand what I'm trying to say, bro. From the 90s, from the 70s, they kind of started with the mind manipulation. Then in the 80s, they kind of perfected it with broadcasting. Then the late 80s, they did the crack epidemic, which pretty much destroyed like the generation of like my mom and like my mom's mom. You got to think my mom already kind of has some traditional values and knew what to do for the most part as far as taking care of a village. And once the crack hit, it took away my mom's generation because they was already kind of transitioning into the Planned Parenthood. So the family dynamic was already out the window, but when crack hit, it pretty much destroyed it. And then our grandparents, well, my mom's mom was pretty much strung out too. So the cooking dynamic, the family dynamic coming together every Christmas, that type of thing, it was out of the window. And you only had one group of people that was kind of looking down because I already talked about I think it was in my It's Fake video about how they know that it's I hope I wasn't covering my mic. They know that they dropping shit off in certain neighborhoods, bro. In certain places, go back to Chicago when it's people talking about how it's freights that just stop in the middle of certain neighborhoods filled with ammunition and firearms and nobody do nothing about it. They ignore it. They don't even talk about it. That's how I know a lot of this shit is just for folly, bro. A lot of people just talk the talk, but it's a real world out here, bro. When it comes to, like I say, that underbelly. And I've been out there. I seen certain shit, so I could kind of tie things together. Um, a lot of shit I wish I didn't see, but I mean, I guess I wasn't really affected. It affected me in a way to where I could talk about it and not. have PTSD or stuff like that because the Most High with me for the most part. But anyway, getting back to what I was saying, like I say with the Planned Parenthood, how it destroyed the family, and then in the '90s, I was born in the '90s, '93, so that was like the height of East Coast West Coast beef. A lot of if what if I told you, because I mean they made the movie. What if I told you most of them shooters, most of the people in the industry, most of the rappers even was probably synthetic, probably clones, bro. Most of the drug dealers was probably clones, bro. Probably weren't even real people. They could you gotta think, even if you look at a lot of these like rituals when it comes to the movie theater shooter, when it comes to the people that run people down with cars, a lot of these people have the same things in common. They always look a certain way, their eyes look a certain way. They always got a certain, like their hair always crazy. It's like they be created characters almost. You know what I'm saying? It's like these don't be real people. Like they be psyched out of their fucking mind because if I'm not mistaken, even when it comes to cloning, after a while, if you don't, it's certain things about them. If you don't tweak them or something, like they malfunction and they go insane. I mean, if you look at what's been going on with some of these celebrities, even over the years, you look at Britney, um, the meltdowns that celebrities have, and you could chalk that up to a lot of things too. Like even Dave Chappelle said, it's bullshit going on to where, because I went through it even as a kid. It was times where I knew that I couldn't say certain things because my family was already trying to say I was a certain way. So I had to kind of dumb myself down so they didn't put me in the damn institution. Because I know that it was a possibility, knowing my history, my family history. But you get what I'm saying. But yeah, man, it's got to the point to where even in your family, you never know who's who. And don't go crazy thinking everybody, in your family, a clone, everybody around you, uh, you know, body snatched or something like that. Cause I mean, it could be, but that now is not the time to be paranoid. Um, now is the time to be thankful. Look back at your life for the most part. Look at where you are now. It could always be worse, always be better. But a lot of times when you think it's better, it get worse. And when you at your worst, that's when you getting prepared for your best. But that's pretty much it. If you could follow what I'm trying to say. It was one dude in here, Prada James. I be proud of Gucci stuff shop. Mm-hmm. I remember that song. I think that was Rich Kids, I think. But shout out to you, bro. I think I know who you is too. But yeah, I don't got no questions. I'm surprised I had people in here at one point in time. That was kind of crazy. I didn't think nobody was gonna be in here, but I'm pretty sure people watched the run back and understand what I'm saying. I love y'all, bro. How the fuck I end this?